Many animals like to be in warm places, even in people's homes. I'm sure you've seen insects, birds, or the neighbor's cat in your house, but what this woman found is very special. She also got animals in her house unexpectedly. Find out what happened by watching this video. This Australian was used to seeing all kinds of animals since Australia is one of the most animal diverse countries in the world, and at any time you can come across a dangerous or charming animal. The woman in this story had no problem with what she saw one day in her backyard. She liked to tend to her garden and sit outdoors. One day, she heard a strange noise. It sounded like moaning. She didn't know what it was, but decided to take a look at it. The moaning was coming from her garden. She took a good look and thought she saw something. She saw a beautiful fur. It was a dog. She didn't know exactly what breed it was, but it was very pretty. She had no problem with that, of course. She preferred that to a poisonous snake. She couldn't resist its beautiful eyes. Who could? So she decided to take the animal inside. Hearing its whimpers, it seemed to need help, and she was willing to help it. She loved the dog's company and took lots of pictures. She happily showed her relatives what she had found in her garden, but after a while she began to have doubts. The more she looked at the animal, the more she realized how strange it was. Was it really a dog? She was confused, and living in Australia you can never be sure what kind of animal you're taking home. To be sure, she tried to find out. Luckily, the animal didn't look dangerous. She later decided to post pictures of the animal on Facebook in hopes of getting help, but no one was sure what animal it was. Eventually, it was taken to a veterinary clinic where it was examined to determine its breed. We discovered that it was a dingo, a wild dog from Australia that is probably a descendant of the Indian steppe wolf. It was later discovered that he was the only native dog in the country. It was a 100% Victorian Highland dingo, so the animal was incredibly rare. We don't know how it ended up in this woman's garden, but from the wounds on its back, we believe it was left there by an eagle. The animal, which was later christened Wandy, was moved to a national park to receive the best possible care. He was incredibly calm and had no fear of people. Fortunately, Wandy was treated well, and everyone is still impressed by this story. American Gary Potter also found something unusual in his garden. However, he quickly realized that it was a not very common animal. It was a big cat, and it was beautiful. Gary couldn't believe his eyes. He looked at the wild animal and realized it was a cougar. He took as many pictures as possible of the cougar in his yard because he thought the animal would probably run away very quickly. It didn't. It stayed in Gary's yard, and Gary didn't know what to do. Of course, he didn't mind admiring the beautiful animal from afar. The cougar was lying down and kept licking its paws. Maybe there was something, thought Gary. Was the animal injured? After seeing this, he decided to call a mountain lion organization. He described the situation and asked for help. One of the people from the organization, Joanna Turner, asked for pictures. She said if the mountain lion was still there the next morning, there was probably a problem, so they decided to wait and see. Gary continued to admire the animal, hoping nothing bad would happen. Later that night, he decided to go to bed. The mountain lion was still there. Gary wanted to help him, but didn't know how. The next morning, when the man was still half asleep, he heard this strange noise again. He woke up and ran downstairs and saw that the animal was still in his yard. He called the organization again, and they came to his house to save the animal. The animal's paws were damaged and bleeding. Most likely, it had been injured by a brush fire. It was immediately taken to a veterinarian. This puma was not the only animal with this type of injury at the time. There were several animals with similar injuries. The puma had managed to escape from the fire, but after a while it was no longer able to walk. The animal was treated with certain substances that help heal the burns. It is in good hands and everything will be fine. The animal was lucky to end up in the garden of someone with good intentions. However, Gary also has a special story to tell his loved ones. That day, he didn't need to go to the zoo to see a special animal. It was in his garden. If you like the movie Bambi, you'll surely love to see cute deer. This Imgur user named Ames Colley had a very special experience with them. The woman is a wildlife conservationist. Since she was a little girl, she has a great love for animals. The idea that many animals are alone and have no one to take care of them breaks her heart. That's why she's been caring for orphaned animals for years. One day, there was a storm and a hurricane was going to happen. Of course, the woman could be warm at home, but she wasn't. She was always thinking about how to help the orphaned animals. She was always thinking about how to help as many animals as possible. Probably a lot of animals would need help and care, she thought. She went out to look for animals in need. She had to hurry because she would soon be out in the rain herself. She also decided to leave the back door of her house open in case animals in distress sought shelter. After all, animals have more highly developed senses than humans, and they themselves are often aware of approaching danger. Ames Collie was especially fond of deer. She knew there were deer in the area, but she did not know where to find them. She walked in the cold and stormy weather hoping to get and help the deer. After a long walk, she found no deer or other animals in distress. The weather was getting worse and worse, and she decided to return home. Somehow, she felt guilty because she had not been able to help any animals. She was also very cold and couldn't wait to get home. When she arrived, she saw that the back door was still open. From a distance, she saw a furry face. It was probably her dog, but when she got closer, she realized it wasn't. Later, she saw that under her dining table were 3 servants taking shelter. It was the cutest thing she had ever seen. The woman didn't close the back door because the storm was coming, and now she was surprised because she had found 3 baby deer in her house. She had been outside all this time looking for one of them, and suddenly, she had 3 in the house. They were small and looked frightened. The woman tried to make them understand that they were welcome in her house and could stay there. After a while, the servants began to feel more comfortable. They realized that this woman meant well and they felt safe. In addition, they found the dog very interesting and the house was nice and warm. The servants showed their appreciation. Apparently, they're like dogs. They like to give kisses. She had had many beautiful experiences with animals, but this was one of the most beautiful. She will never forget it. The woman shared her experience on her Imgur account. She had already taken care of her other animals like squirrels and possums. Her life is like a mix of Snow White and Bambi. Now she sings for the animals. It's amazing what all these people have been through. It's not often you come across animals like this in the wild, let alone in the garden or in the house. Fortunately, all the animals have been well treated. They all found the right place. What animal would you like to find in your house or garden? Let us know in the comments. Feel free to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our next videos.